Who is the most powerful person in China today? Most people would say Xi Jinping. But the recent Chinese balloon incident has cast doubt on that answer. The downing of the spy balloon has busted Xi's hope of repairing relations with the United States, something at the top of his agenda. Even the Chinese Communist Party's own scholar is acknowledging a disconnect between communist theory and the reality. So who is weakening Xi's power? Hello, welcome to Leisrealtalk. I'm Lei. U.S China relations at their lowest point since the two countries established diplomatic relations 44 years ago. Xi Jinping had gestured to improve relations when he met with Joe Biden face-to-face last November at the G20 meeting in Bali. However, the spy balloon incident has become the black swan event that disrupted Xi's plan. Stabilizing China-U.S. relations is important to Xi. After meeting with Biden in Bali on November 14th last year, Xi made several moves to improve relations. He promoted his ambassador to the U.S., Qin Gang, to foreign minister, and sent Vice Premier Liu He to assure Western countries at the Davos Forum that the CCP would not return to a planned economy. And he eagerly anticipated U.S. Secretary of State Tony Blinken's visit to Beijing. Insider information revealed that Xi removed himself from other activities for a week to prepare for his meeting with Blinken. However, the spy balloon completely disrupted his plans. Xi is upset for the following 6 reasons. 1. Blinken's trip to China is postponed indefinitely. 2. The possibility of a Xi-Biden meeting is nowhere in sight. 3. China's militarization in near space has been exposed in the international community. 4. The U.S. Congress displayed an unprecedented bipartisan effort in condemning the CCP's surveillance activities. 5. The Biden administration shared information about the balloon with 40 other countries. 6. The American public's dislike for the CCP worsened, and the distrust between China and the U.S. deepened. But how could the most powerful man in China be hijacked by a balloon? Not a foreign balloon, his own balloon. And how could the man who repeatedly warned his officials of black swan events didn't see this one coming? What happened on the surface was a lack of internal coordination and communication. According to Japan's Kyodo News, the People's Liberation Army was responsible for the spy balloon that traversed the U.S., and they didn't notify China's foreign ministry about the operation. In my view, this incident exposed the weakness of Xi's rule. You must know that Xi made it clear at the 20th Party Congress that security is his #1 priority. In addition to being the leader of the party, the country, and the military, Xi became the head of the CCP's National Security Committee. For the first time, security was specifically listed as a subtitle in the Party Congress report, and the Minister of State Security was promoted to be a member of the Politburo for the first time. And for the first time, 3 senior officials from the police were placed in the CCP's Central Secretariat. Although on the surface, Xi Jinping has become the most powerful leader, like Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping, it's hard for him to know what's really going on within the party and in the country. People may not tell him what they really think or know. Xi is surrounded by people who kowtow and flatter him. There are many two-faced officials in the regime who say one thing but do another, do one thing in front of him and another behind his back. Secondly, his demand of absolute control has not strengthened him, but has actually weakened his power. While serving as the top leader of the party, the country, and the military, Xi also serves as the chairman, director, and head of more than a dozen committees or work groups within the party, such as chairman of the National Security Council, director of the Central Committee for Comprehensively Deepening Reform, director of the Central Committee for Financial and Economic Affairs, the Central Committee for Network Security and Information, the Committee for Foreign Affairs, the Committee for Comprehensively Adhering to the Rule of Law, and Director of the Central Audit Commission. He is also the head of the Central Lead Group for Taiwan Work. Why would Xi Jinping want to have so many jobs? It's impossible to do them, right? The only reason is obviously for control. We know that when a boss micromanages a company, he can demoralize his team and smart people will quit. Neither Mao or Deng was a micromanager. Mao was an ideological spiritual leader who wasn't bothered with practical matters. Deng Xiaoping was said to be too lazy to deal with the details. He liked to play bridge and just give orders. Now we have Xi Jinping, the world's first micromanaging dictator. By fussing over the trivial details, he's only expediting the downfall of the regime. But to be fair, you can't blame him. He may simply be a good party member who just tries to follow the CCP's ultimate doctrine: the party rules everything. Yes, in China, the party rules everything. The Chinese military isn't fighting for the country, it fights for the party, because it's the party's military. Chinese law doesn't serve the public, it serves the party. The result of the parties controlling everything is inevitably that everything becomes out of control. When prosecutors, courts, and the police are controlled by the party, society is run by criminals. Let's use sports as an analogy. If someone plays the role of athlete, coach, and referee at the same time, what would the game become? I don't think we would still have a game worth watching. Even CCP officials have realized that they have an ideological and existential crisis on their hands. Yao Yang, director of the National Development Institute of Beijing University, said a few days ago that the most fundamental problem in China right now is that the theory of the Communist Party lags far behind the party's practice. He said that this disconnect is the greatest and the most fundamental challenge that China faces. Mr. Yao still lives and works in China, so his words are very mild. He can be explicit. But he stated the truth, that is, the communist ideology, its principles and rules, are disconnected from China's reality. In other words, the reality and the theory are out of sync. The communist ideology or theory cannot rule China anymore, so the CCP's insistence that the party rules everything can only be self-destructing. Since Xi Jinping came to power, Xi has reiterated the party's absolute leadership over the PLA. To improve government efficiency, he implemented the decision on major issues concerning the modernization of the state governance system and governance capability, as well as the Chinese program for modernizing state governance. But this is useless. The problem is that nobody believes in the communist ideology anymore. The very theory that once supported the regime is falling apart. Even the CCP officials don't believe it. Western media recently reported that Xi Jinping told the late Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe that he probably wouldn't have joined the Communist Party if he'd been born in the U.S., but he would have been a member of the Democratic or Republican Party. The underlying message I got from this is that Xi is very practical. He doesn't necessarily identify with the communist ideology, even though some people call him a man of ideological faith. He has held on to it because it's the predominant political theory available to him. If he sees that the CCP establishment is undermining his power and that everything he does to save the party is actually destroying it, I wonder if he would still want to save the CCP. Let's hope he sees the reality. Here's my video on the psychobiographical analysis of Xi Jinping. Thank you for watching. See you next time.